Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
Devastating news in the search for Brendan Santo. Police believe a body found in the Red Cedar River is that of the missing student from Rochester Hills. Today's big development coming after months of questions and theories, but no solid clues. The Grand Valley student disappeared in late October while visiting friends at MSU. The body found today was in a part of the Red Cedar River near where US 127 passes over it. That's about a mile and a half from Yakeley Hall, where Santo was last seen. Sean Lay live in Lansing this evening with the very latest on this developing story. Sean.
Karen, the Red Cedar right behind me, you mentioned a mile and a half right upriver is where Brendan was last seen, but I want to show you exactly where searchers took their time very carefully, because this is a dangerous area, to clear some way here to get into the river. And you see all that debris piled up there, all those trees that have fallen into the river. So they had to get a boat in there and start searching through all of that. And at 12:15 today, that's when a discovery was made.
I've actually been out here these past couple weeks every day trying to find things, and when I heard of heavy police presence, I came to this area.
People come to this very spot every day, hoping to find something to help find 18-year-old Brendan Santo. His disappearance sending shockwaves through Grand Valley State University, where he was a student, to his Rochester High School community, Santo's family and friends hoping, praying for a positive outcome. But at 12:30 today, the discovery of a body was made in the Red Cedar River, essentially off of the walking path behind the restaurant Green Dot Stables. It's just a mile and a half downriver from where Brendan Santo was last seen the night before the Michigan State-Michigan game. This part of the river is thick with branches and debris. Law enforcement was specifically interested in this area of the river, but had to plan out a carefully orchestrated search here, saying it was dangerous for searchers to go in. Back here live along the river, Michigan State Police Public Safety tell us they believe no foul play is involved here. And tonight, Grand Valley State University and Michigan State University are offering their prayers and condolences to Brendan's family and many friends. Back to you, Karen.
Horribly sad, Sean. What happens next in this investigation?
Well, as I mentioned, at 12:30 today, the remains were found, and they're already on their way and are at the medical examiner's office. What is next is an autopsy to find out cause of death and any other tests that the medical examiner wants to order to further the investigation to find out what happened.
Of course, we'll keep you everyone updated. We appreciate it. Thank you, Sean. Now to the coronavirus. As new cases continue to increase across the state reporting 33,551 new cases, an average of 16,776 cases a day. 210 deaths were reported during that same time period as well. For the first time, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention releasing a real-life data on the effect of booster shots against the Omicron variant. On Friday, the CDC released the results from 3 large new studies of millions of cases. One study showed getting a booster dose of a vaccine was 90% effective at preventing people from being admitted into hospitals due to Omicron. After 6 months, 2 vaccine doses alone were only 57% effective. All 3 studies found unvaccinated people face the highest risk from COVID-19. Former Macomb County Prosecutor Eric Smith appeared via Zoom today for his preliminary exam. He's charged with 10 counts of embezzlement and running a criminal enterprise for allegedly using county forfeiture funds for his own personal use. Local 4's Rob Maloney was at that hearing, which featured in-person testimony from the Macomb County Sheriff.
There was an individual on a bicycle in front of Eric Smith's house that was out on a criminal, or had a criminal complaint pending.
It's unusual for a sheriff to testify for the defense, and yet that's where Macomb County Sheriff Anthony Wickersham found himself today at a continuation of a protracted preliminary exam. The sheriff's testimony revolving around this scene at Eric Smith's Macomb Township home back in May of 2019 when he was prosecutor. During this search, Michigan State Police detectives seized that home security camera system purchased using county forfeiture funds, money the county collects from fines paid by drunk drivers and drug defendants. State law requires that money gets spent on items supporting law enforcement, and the state calls Smith's security system a criminal misuse of county money. The defense maintained Smith had reason to believe he needed it, pointing to an overnight sheriff's stop of the man on that bike in 2011. Smith bought the system in 2012. The now retired deputy who stopped that man, Matthew Conforti, testified via Zoom from his Utah home today, had little recollection other than calling Sheriff Wickersham to let him know about the stop. Wickersham testified that he remembered that discussion and later calling Smith.
So in that situation, I did call Eric Smith and just inform him of that individual. What I didn't want to happen was Deputy Conforti giving me that information and I don't do anything with it and something was to happen.
Now, the guy on the bicycle didn't get a ticket. He wasn't arrested. But in many ways, the defense's case hangs on this testimony. The state is fighting it very hard. Coming up in a couple of weeks now, we're going to see the end to this preliminary exam where the judge will decide whether to send the case to trial. In Clinton Township, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
All right, Rod. Well, we've had two choices today, either complain about the cold or try to celebrate the sunshine. Unfortunately, though, Paul, the sun has now gone down, so we're left with one choice.
Well, you know me. I'm Mr. Silver Lining in every cloud. I don't complain. We had the sunshine today, and you know how cloudy it is every winter. And to get a day like this, and I'll tell you, we're staying with this Mount Clemens Skycam. Look at that sunset. Oh, my goodness gracious. The color is just insane. That is just gorgeous. Temperatures right now slipping. You can see 19 now at Adrian, Port Huron, Howell. We have 20 in Detroit. Wind chills are generally in the low teens or around 10 degrees right now. So, yeah, it's cold out there, but it's not that there's a lot of wind. It's just that it's very cold, and any wind gives you, that wind chill. All right, you can see the clear skies. Now, our friends here in Ontario, you've had some of this lake stratus here, but that has stayed mostly offshore today. So we've had a lot of the sunshine during the course of the day. That's, of course, the sun's down, so now it's just clear sky. And we're going to keep that through the evening hours. So if heading down to the Wings game, you're leaving right now. No worries about snow, no worries about ice or anything like that. Temperatures falling through the teens this evening. Wind chills again to be around 10 degrees. So coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to talk about the dusting tomorrow, but you'll need the shovels on Monday. We'll talk more about those amounts and more Arctic air on the way. Back to you in just a few minutes, guys.
Thank you, Paul. New video shows Troy police safely stopping a wrong-way driver. Dashcam video shows an officer following the driver of a Jeep Wrangler Sunday on Stevenson Highway. Now, police believe the driver was drunk. That person did eventually pull over to the side of the road. Charges are pending with the Oakland County Prosecutor's Office. Police say 16 people have been arrested this year for drunk driving.
A lot of us remember getting an alert on our phones in March of 2020. It told us the state's stay-home order was going into effect and all non-essential travel was prohibited. Since then, there's been a lot of debate over the positive and negative impacts of that early pandemic lockdown. And now comes a new study from the University of Michigan comparing lives saved and lost. Grant Herms has been digging into this all afternoon for us. And Grant, we know the governor's office has repeatedly said the stay-home order saved lives, but the study also supports some arguments that her critics have put forth as well.
Yeah, there's something in this no matter which side of this controversy you fall on. If you're in favor of those early shutdowns, there's some compelling evidence here that those were a good idea. If you're against them, this study shows that there were some people hurt way more than other groups of people. What this study also really shows is just how complicated responding to this pandemic was in those early days.
In a first-of-its-kind study, University of Michigan researchers looking at the cost and benefits of lockdowns in the first 6 months of the pandemic, not in dollars, but in number of lives and years to live. According to the study, lockdowns beginning in March of 2020 saved between 866,000 and 1.7 million lives through stay-at-home and other orders. The recession caused by shutting down cost far fewer lives, between 58,000 and 245,000. But things get less clear when talking about years of human life, precious time held onto or lost with loved ones. The study estimating between 5 million and 9 million years of human life was saved, but between 2 million and 9 million years were lost. Who benefited most and least was also looked at, the lockdowns overwhelmingly benefiting the elderly and disabled, who likely had fewer years to live, versus the negative impacts on the younger workforce, although the study's lead researchers saying their findings aren't for or against shutdowns.
What our results suggest is that the approach potentially saved more lives than what the collateral mortality might have been from the economic recession. When you evaluate the quality adjusted life years the results are more ambiguous. But it's not an endorsement of that approach itself. It's possible that a shorter set of lockdowns, a less restrictive approach to our economy might have produced better results, but we will never know.
Now, the researchers do say their study has some limits because they just looked at the first 6 months of the pandemic before we had therapeutics and effective vaccines. But no matter which way you look at this, this will likely add fuel to this controversy that has now been going for almost 2 years. Back to you.
Yeah, lots of opinions really on both sides. Okay, Grant, thank you.